Okay, so let's dive into a really powerful idea from psychologist Angela Duckworth's book, Grit. Seriously, this is an idea that kind of turns everything we think we know about success completely on its head.
It all started with this one simple question that took Angela Duckworth on this incredible journey. She went everywhere from classrooms to corporate boardrooms and even to one of the most elite military academies in the world. For decades, we've been sold this story about talent, right? The idea of being a natural at something. But Duckworth's research, well, it suggests we've been looking in the completely wrong place. To find the real answer, she had to go to one of the most demanding places on Earth. And that brings us to the United States Military Academy at West Point. Now, just getting into this place is a monumental achievement. We're talking about people with top SAT scores, perfect grades. They even need a nomination from a member of Congress. Only the absolute best of the best get in.
But here's the puzzle. Even with everything it takes to get there, 1 out of every 5 cadets quits before they even graduate. And a whole lot of them quit during this brutal 7-week training program they call Beast Barracks. Think about that. These are people who spent years trying to get in, and they quit almost right away. Why?
Well, just look at this schedule. It is absolutely relentless. Your day starts at 5 a.m. and it is a nonstop grind of physical and mental challenges until lights out at 10 p.m. And get this, there are no weekends, no breaks. The whole thing is literally designed to push you to your absolute limit and then push you even further.
The whole program is basically a crucible. It's designed to find every single weakness you have, break you down, and then build you back up, tougher than before. So what kind of person actually makes it through something like that? Who survives Beast?
You'd think it would be the most talented cadets, right? The super geniuses, the star athletes. The Army thought so too. They have this thing called a whole candidate score. It's a mashup of test scores, physical fitness, leadership potential, the whole shebang. But here's the absolute shocker. That score had zero bearing on who dropped out. The so-called most talented cadets were just as likely to quit as anyone else.
So, if talent isn't the answer, then what is? Well, Angela Duckworth's research pointed to a single trait that mattered more than all the others combined.
She called it grit. And it's not just about working hard. It's this really special combination of having a deep, lasting passion for a long-term goal and having the resilience to just keep working at it day after day, especially when you fail. It's about stamina. This became her core hypothesis, and, it was partly inspired by her own childhood. Her dad used to tell her, you're no genius. So her entire career has kind of been this investigation into the idea that maybe what we do with our abilities matters a whole lot more than the abilities themselves.
And you know what? Her research proved her right. She came up with this simple questionnaire she called the Grit Scale, and at West Point, a cadet's score on that scale was the single most reliable predictor of who would make it through that grueling training. It was a better predictor than their SAT scores, their athletic ability, their leadership potential. It all came down to grit. Okay, but was this pattern just a West Point thing, a military thing? To find out, Duckworth took her theory and tested it in some completely different and really challenging environments.
First, she went to a corporate sales firm. Now, this is a job where facing rejection isn't something that happens once in a while. It's what you do all day, every day. It's an environment with incredibly high turnover.
And when I say high, I mean high. After just 6 months on the job, 55% of the employees were already gone. Let that sink in. More than half the sales force quit within half a year.
So what predicted who would stick it out? You guessed it. Once again, it was grit. In fact, grit was a better predictor of who would keep their job than any other personality trait they measured. Even things you'd think would be super important, like being an extrovert or being conscientious.
And this pattern just kept showing up everywhere she looked. In Chicago public schools, grittier high schoolers were way more likely to graduate. At the Scripps National Spelling Bee, it wasn't just about who had the biggest vocabulary. The grittier kids consistently went further in the competition. And the reason why? It's actually pretty simple. They just practiced more. A lot more.
Now, here's where it gets really fascinating. Because despite all this evidence piling up that points to the power of effort and perseverance, our society seems to have this hidden, almost dangerous obsession with something else entirely.
Researchers have found this thing they call a naturalness bias. Here's how it works. You show people 2 equally successful individuals. One is described as a natural, born with talent. The other is a striver, someone who had to work really hard. Now, we all say we admire the hard worker, but deep down, we secretly prefer the natural. We just assume they have more raw ability and a brighter future. And this obsession with finding A players and naturals, it can backfire in a huge way. It can create these toxic company cultures that are all about rewarding short-term flashiness instead of long-term growth and integrity. I mean, just look at the collapse of Enron. That was a company obsessed with hiring only the smartest guys in the room, and it's a terrifying example of this talent-first mindset going completely off the rails.
So what are we supposed to take away from all this? What's the big lesson? Well, it really comes down to a fundamental truth about what potential actually is.
And that's the core message right there. Talent is not your destiny. Your natural ability is just the starting line. It's the effort you put in day after day that turns that potential into an actual skill. And then it's effort yet again that makes that skill produce results. Like Duckworth says, effort counts twice.
So if we can shift our focus away from this obsession with innate talent, we can actually start to build the passion and the perseverance that really lead to achievement. It means finding something you care about and just sticking with it, especially when it gets hard. So the next time you're evaluating yourself or someone else, don't just ask about talent, ask about grit.